Alright, so let's just jump right into this. So the first thing I'm going to look at is them in their prime versus them at their lowest moment and who would win then. I know it may not seem like a lot of sense right now, but the more time we go on, the more it'll make sense. We'll also look at what happens if their sons get involved and what happens if they have a tag team partner. Well, I'm in a WWE, so I just call it tag team partner. So first, let's start with their lowest moment. Now, for Rick, I would have to pick season 7 Rick because at this point he was so broken with so many things. With Negan killing Glenn, probably his best friend, the person who saved him, the whole reason he had Carl at that point, the whole reason he even got to see his family. He was just so broken, and as you can see from the picture, he is crying. So I honestly rate his toughness out of 10 in this season probably a 6 out of 10. He wasn't strong this season. He was just kind of weak. It was more towards the end of the season he started shining, but towards the beginning of the season, he didn't really do anything. Kind of was just Negan's, like, I don't know how to say it. He was kind of Negan's property. That's a bad word to say, but, like, Negan acted like he owned Rick. So I honestly don't think that Rick would have been in his right mindset to fight anyone here. So I rate him a 6 out of 10 for this one, probably the lowest season ever. So now let's go to Daniel LaRusso. For Daniel, this one was a little more tricky because in Cobra Kai, I didn't really see him having like a lot of low moments in his career, but I did pick this scene from The Karate Kid 2. As you can see, he's all bloodied up from Chosen, and he's just really down in the dumps, being beaten up and just being completely destroyed. Johnny was one thing, but Chosen completely beat the crap out of him. As you can see here, he's way more bloody than he's ever been battling someone, and I do believe this is his lowest moment. Like, at the part, I do believe Karate Kid was his lowest season. So if I had to rate him, well, I had to rate him on different things because he is a teenager in this one. So I'm going to have to rate him a 5 out of 10, which that does mean Rick wins the lowest moment. Now let's go to their peak. Okay, for this one, I'm sorry to all the Daniel LaRusso fans, but I think this is a clean sweep for the peak. I really do believe there's no competition. Rick was on his game in this season. He was whooping ass every single episode with no regrets. He bit a dude's throat out. It's a no-brainer to me. I'm just going to fly right by this section. There's no way Rick beats Daniel. I'm rating him an 11 out of 10 for this one. But let's still look at Daniel's prime to make the video a little more accessible to you guys. Let's go. Now, for Daniel, I couldn't really decide his prime, so I decided to pick season 5 when he's fighting Terry Silver, because Terry Silver is a monster, and he beat him with the crane kick. So that's why I decided to beat him. I just can't think of any other reason why this season wouldn't be his prime. I was thinking about season 6, but he doesn't really do a lot in season 6. It's mainly focused on the kids. So I'd pick this moment versus Terry Silver, but unfortunately, Rick does win again. He is a beast. He will go through anything. So next, let's see if their kids are involved. Now for this section, I did put Rick and Carl together, and it's going to be versus Anthony and Daniel. But I think Anthony will take care of Carl because, unfortunately, Carl's awesome, but he does not have any fighting ability, and Anthony has a little bit. He did get that point on Robbie. He almost did take down Kenny. So I do think that Carl would be going down first, and then they double team him, and they eventually take down Rick. So I do think that Daniel would win this round, but I rate these two holding their own as a 7.5 out of 10. Now let's go to Anthony and Daniel. Now for Anthony and Daniel, I do think they do win this round. As I said previously, Anthony does know a little bit more about karate. I know in this picture has a bloody nose because he just got wrecked by Kenny. Kenny versus Carl, unfortunately, would not be a competition because Kenny would whoop Carl because he has a lot more fighting ability. But I think Anthony could take down Carl in a little bit. Rick would get angry, try to take him out, but Daniel, he would get distracted by the fact that Carl's down and Daniel would take him out. So I rate their fighting ability together an 8 out of 10. So now let's move on if they had their best friends by their side. Okay, this next section is so hard for me to determine who will win because I honestly cannot decide. For my Daryl versus Johnny video, I believe I said Daryl would win. I know that may be wrong, but I do believe I remember him saying that. So I think Daryl would win that fight. So it'd be a 2v1. And I think Daniel would be able to hold his own against Daryl. I think it would be Daryl trying to use that combat because sometimes Daryl, he becomes a hothead and just becomes wrapped in his emotions. I think Daniel would take care of him and it'll be a 1v1. So I don't know exactly who would win this, but I'd rate their fighting style together, Rick and Daryl, an 8.2 out of 10. And as I just said for these two, I cannot pick a winner, so I'm just going to breeze through these two and get to the final battle. Who would win? Now, as I said, I'm just going to rate them an 8.2 because I cannot decide who will win. So let's just jump to the final round. All right, I've taken a look at these two characters and I've analyzed their prime, their lowest moment, if their sons were involved, and if they had a partner with them fighting. But I do think we have a winner here if it was like a brawl, because we're just doing a normal fight. No like karate rules. We always do normal fights. The winner is Ricky Dog Grimes. Congratulations. I honestly do think Rick would win. Thank you all for watching. Subscribe if you want, and I'll see you all tomorrow.